What if the safest place to hide was inside a prison cell? After 4 episodes of running, lying, stealing, and barely surviving, Lucky Armstrong finally makes the one decision no one saw coming. She gives herself up. But here's the twist. This isn't the moment she loses. It might actually be the moment she wins. Can someone who's done terrible things ever become a good person again? At first, this feels like a simple crime thriller, but by the end of the episode, it becomes something much deeper, a story about guilt, family, manipulation, and the impossible struggle to escape the life that shaped you. The episode begins immediately after the devastating events of episode 4. The high-speed chase is over. The smoke has settled, but the consequences are only beginning. Cary Masterson is dead. The man Lucky fought so hard to find, the man she hoped could help her escape this nightmare, is gone forever. For the first time since the series began, Lucky is completely alone. No plan, no partner, no safe place to hide. Only grief. Yet she doesn't even have time to mourn. Police sirens echo through the streets. Emergency crews rush toward the massive crash caused during the chase. If Lucky stays where she is for even a few minutes longer, she'll almost certainly be caught. So, like every great survivor, she adapts. She spots one of the wrecked vehicles and quietly climbs inside. Moments later, paramedics arrive. Without hesitation, Lucky invents another identity. She tells them the elderly woman injured in the crash is her grandmother. It's another convincing performance. One more lie that saves her life. The ambulance speeds toward the hospital. For most people, a hospital means safety. For Lucky, it's just another place she has to escape. Inside the emergency room, Lucky notices something unexpected. Agent Billie Rand is being wheeled in as well. Even after everything that happened, both Hunter and Hunted have somehow ended up in the very same hospital. It's almost symbolic. No matter how far Lucky runs, her past always catches up with her. But something feels different this time. Normally, Lucky is always one step ahead. She's confident, sharp, always calculating her next move. Now, she can barely stay awake. Her hands shake, her face is bruised, her clothes are stained with blood. The emotional weight of Cary's death is finally crashing down on her. Within minutes, exhaustion wins. Lucky collapses. For the first time in the entire series, she isn't escaping anyone. She's simply too tired to keep going. When Lucky wakes up sometime later, she quietly slips out of her hospital bed. She's still technically a fugitive. Every second she stays increases the risk of being discovered. But before she leaves, something unexpected happens. Inside the hospital restroom, she meets a teenage girl crying alone. The girl introduces herself as Dana. What Lucky doesn't know is that Dana is Agent Rand's daughter. Dana is overwhelmed with guilt. The last thing she told her mother before the accident was, "I hate you." Now, with her mother lying injured inside the hospital, she's terrified those words might become the last conversation they ever had. Lucky listens. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't pretend. Instead, she quietly tells Dana something simple. If you get another chance, tell her you love her. It's one of the smallest scenes in the episode, but emotionally, it's one of the biggest. Because Lucky isn't really talking to Dana. She's talking to herself. Throughout the series, we've watched Lucky lie to almost everyone she meets. But in this moment, there's no deception, only regret. She knows exactly what it feels like to carry words you wish you could take back. And for the first time, we're seeing the real Lucky. Not the con artist, not the survivor, just a woman who's beginning to question the life she's lived. Lucky leaves the hospital unnoticed and checks into a cheap motel nearby. It's nothing special. A tiny room, faded walls, an uncomfortable bed. But after everything she's endured, it's the closest thing she has to peace. For the first time all season, there's silence. No police helicopters, no gunfire, no one chasing her. Just grief and memories. While cleaning herself up, Lucky notices she's still wearing Cary's clothes. Every stain, every wrinkle, every piece of fabric reminds her that only hours earlier, he was alive. Now he's gone. She couldn't save him. And that's a burden she'll carry long after this episode ends. Elsewhere, Agent Billie Rand regains consciousness. She suffered serious injuries during the crash. Any normal investigator would take time to recover. Not Billie. The moment she wakes up, she asks the same question. Where's Lucky? She learns Cary is dead, but Lucky has vanished. To everyone else, this looks like another failed search. But Billie knows better. Lucky is grieving. She's exhausted. She's wounded. She can't have gone far.
and that instinct will soon lead Billie to make one of the smartest moves of the entire investigation. But she isn't the only one searching, because somewhere else, another woman is preparing to bury her son. And unlike the FBI, she isn't interested in justice. She wants revenge.
But here's where episode 5 becomes much more than a crime thriller. Up until this point, Lucky has survived by staying one step ahead of everyone else. She's always had a plan, always had another identity to hide behind. But after Cary's death, those masks begin to crack. The episode asks an important question. Can someone spend their whole life surviving without losing themselves? One of the strongest moments isn't about action at all. It's when Lucky begins questioning the choices she's made. Instead of relying on another clever lie, she allows herself to be vulnerable. That emotional shift tells us she's no longer fighting only the people chasing her. She's fighting the version of herself that her father raised her to become. The flashbacks reinforce this idea. John taught Lucky that survival comes first and that morality is flexible. Those lessons helped keep her alive, but they've also left her carrying years of guilt. Episode 5 suggests that Lucky has reached a point where simply surviving is no longer enough. She wants something better. At the same time, Priscilla is dealing with a different kind of pain. Her grief forces her to look back at the choices that shaped Cary's life, raising the question of whether love can exist alongside manipulation and control. Rather than offering easy answers, the episode shows how regret can haunt people long after the damage has been done. Meanwhile, Agent Billie Rand refuses to stop the investigation despite everything that's happened. Her determination highlights an interesting contrast with Lucky. Both women are relentless, but they're driven by very different ideas of justice and responsibility. And just when every character seems emotionally exhausted, a discovery completely changes the direction of the story, proving that the biggest surprises in Lucky don't always come from action. They come from the secrets people leave behind. Just when it seems everyone has reached a dead end, episode 5 shifts the balance of power once again. The most important twist isn't simply that new information comes to light, it's what that information represents. Throughout the series, trust has been almost impossible to find. Every relationship has been built on secrets, half-truths, or manipulation. This episode challenges that pattern by asking whether someone's final act can reveal who they truly were. At the same time, another layer of the story unfolds through Wayne and Priscilla. Their conflict isn't just about money anymore. It becomes a portrait of how power can destroy families, turning personal relationships into transactions. The episode suggests that greed doesn't simply corrupt people, it changes the way they value everyone around them. Meanwhile, Billie Rand begins connecting pieces that others have overlooked. Instead of relying only on evidence, she starts thinking about emotions and relationships. It's a reminder that understanding someone's motivations can be more powerful than following their footsteps. And then comes Lucky's most surprising decision. Rather than continuing to run, she appears to move toward the danger herself. At first, it feels like surrender. But the more you think about it, the more it feels like strategy. Because Lucky has always stayed alive by making the move nobody expects. Episode 5 ends by completely changing the way we see Lucky Armstrong. At the beginning of the series, she was defined by one instinct: run. Every problem had an escape route, every threat demanded another disguise, and every relationship was built on caution. But now something has changed. Her final decision isn't just a strategic move, it reflects her emotional transformation. For the first time, Lucky seems less interested in escaping her past, and more interested in confronting it. Whether her choice is part of a larger plan or a desperate gamble, it proves one thing: she's no longer the same person we met in episode 1. The episode's title, Are We Bad People?, ties every storyline together. Lucky wrestles with guilt, Priscilla is forced to face the consequences of her past, Billie Rand questions how far she's willing to go to catch her target, and Wayne represents what happens when greed replaces humanity. Each character answers that question differently, making this one of the series' most thought-provoking episodes. Looking ahead, episode 5 sets up an exciting finale. Trust is fragile, alliances are shifting, and everyone has something to lose. The biggest mystery is no longer where the money is, it's who will ultimately pay the highest price for chasing it. If the series continues building on these themes, the ending won't simply be about who wins or loses, it will be about whether any of these characters can truly escape the choices that have defined them. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more in-depth analyses of movies and TV shows, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next breakdown. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.